Hi, my name's Chris from the number one support workers advice line. Today I'm going to talk about how to work with getting the destitute back into shape, back into reality, back up to speed. So I've come across clients who may be living on their own out in the community, and they'll become targeted by squatters. And the squatters will move through and just sort of hang around for a month or two, dossing in the place. I've seen a fair bit of this. The tenant tends to be an alcoholic with chronic trust issue. It just invites people in and lets people walk over them for the warm bed. Um, Thankfully, they move on sometimes of their own volition. Most of the time they do, and they go and squat somewhere else and parasite of someone else. But then you got to pick up the pieces. So if you have a client like this on your books in a psychosocial support sort of outreach setting out in the community, you can look at getting um, some services in home for them, like some cleaning or some, like a trip to the shops. An alcoholic, when you are engaging as a community worker, you are engaging as a wet, you promote a wet environment as far as your service delivery, so they're allowed to drink while you're on. It's not a bad. I like that term because it sort of yeah, things are going to be a bit sort of dicey, a bit unpredictable when you're working wet sessions. I think that's a very good way to the gravitas of alcoholism and how it destroys people's lives. Yeah, yeah, there really needs to be um, a strong wording around it. So I'll let the client know that I'm working in a wet capacity. I do support. I won't go into the shop and get their alcohol for them, but I'll give them a trip down to the shops, and I'll sit in the car, and then once they're out of the car, I can assess their walking style and their trip to and how they're perfectly capable of getting their own alcohol. And then once they get back in the car, you can reflect back how how they picked up and how they succeeded and did this thing. Went and got their alcohol. It's a big deal being out in public because they're quite dishevelled, and yeah, there's quite a few sort of issues going on. So yeah, so we enter, and so after the squatters have gone, and we're sort of promoting this wet sort of engagement style. We can enter in there and start assessing what can change, or in the first session, you can talk about how they can access charities out in the community that may, there's some major charities which will come and furnish your windows, and they'll come and give you a bed, and the linen and the crockery and the cutlery and things like that for a functioning kitchen. There are services which come out and assess that need. So you can do that in the first phone call, like a referral on the spot, whilst you're sort of talking to the person about how emergent the issues are, and how they need to start looking after themselves, because generally they're malnourished and have lost a lot of weight. You'll find with alcoholics that have been at the prey of squatters tend to have been partying quite a lot, because the movement of people in and out brings with it alcohol. So and then there's no need for food for an alcoholic. Then we talk about cigarettes, and how that sort of suppresses the appetite, and people they're more interested in just getting drunk on really bad quality alcohol, high in sugar, cheaper. Just very toxic for your system. There's a real lack. You'd be surprised at the injection of a meal will put into a person. Even their skin colour will change instantaneously as they start processing real food. And the importance of getting a good diet happening for people who are destitute and need to get into shape is very high. So even going to a GP, going to a doctor as soon as possible to get prescriptions from the pharmacy for dietary supplements. GP, that's the first GP visit can be braced on that. So the client will not want to go to the doctor on their own, so you say that you're going to attend with them. You both ring the doctor together. You introduce yourself as a support worker to the receptionist, say you'll be coming along, can they put a note for the doctor there? Once you get there, the doctor knows it's all very serious and that you're there in an advocate capacity for prescribed dietary supplements to put the weight back on the client. And then once you're there, if you're cheeky like me, you might, in that initial visit, you might have said how alarmed you are and that is detox an option right now or rehab an option. And they'll go no, or they may go yeah, or they may just not know what it looks like. But they know where you're coming from, this whole journey. So I like to say to the client that we're going to do a parallel process. You're going to hear me say, do you want to go to rehab? Do you want to go to detox at every visit and every step of the way? Because ultimately that's the best scenario. But in this, I'll support you to get your place cleaned up, yourself cleaned up, and maybe then we can lock the house up and you go and get yourself cleaned up in hospital. So you can have that generative detox conversation over and over with a client. And you warn them that that's going to happen. That's your run. That's what you do as a professional service provider. You just hammer the issues, hammer the messaging, especially into an alcoholic man. Well, I can do this with men. We can talk about extreme scenarios and what we're living for and all this sort of poetry. So they tend to be fairly profound. My experience with alcoholics is that they're very most of them are of high intelligence. Yep. Yeah. So once at the GP with the dietary supplement, you can suggest about a dentist as well. And can we get a prescribed consult? Can they make a referral? So we source a service that can go around and clean the house. You can do that. There are welfare services around which you can employ to sign up with and go on short-term emergency sort of funds. Yeah, but you'd have to look to do certain jobs. That's if you're here in Middle Australia. Yep. So these you tend to find these services which can help you facilitate a clean or a garden tidy, things like this that will help the person's environment. I'm afraid you're going to have to get in there yourself and really, just assess that kitchen. You have to assess the place for rodents and pests as well. So the client generally here in Middle Australia, they get a pension. So if they're just spending money on really cheap alcohol and cigarettes, they tend to have a little bit left over the weeks. So we can get try to generate a bit of acceptance in purchasing food or going to purchasing food or going to the shops for sustenance. So we can link to get the place tidied up, and we'll get in there as well in our boots, and I like to get in there with gloves. I can clean all day. Yeah, it's a good pastime, good rapport building. It helps the client. Yep. So discussions, client may not be ready to accept change. The client may not be ready to accept change. So those discussions, he or she knows you got a parallel process, and the ultimate thing is to get them to a detox, and ultimately to a rehab. Most people have already had this experience, so they know what to expect, but just don't know how they can see themselves quite at this moment in that. So having discussions about that, accepting change, and who are we changing for, are the two main questions. Discussions based on appearance and lost in weight and undernourished, and that's how to open conversations, and then we can because we're looking for a foundation to say that they look better next time we see them, as their diets improve, things come in the door, people come in the door, and they link with services. In Middle Australia here, you can link with services for emergency and financial aid. So they can help you with bills, they can help you with a hamper, put you on the Christmas hamper list, things like this. So taking men for clothes shopping. So what you can do is, assess how much money the client has. You can do it through like a major charity. You can make requests for clothing. Vouchers at their stores, but it's not much cheaper, more expensive to just go and buy not cheap, but cotton drill pants and chinos and shoes, singlets, cotton shirts, overshirts, jumpers. These can all be picked up at middle of the range shopping centres. You get a good pair of pants for $15 sometimes. That'll last you a while. The trick is then you need to go get them hemmed. So I found taking the client shopping, doing them up, and then taking them to be hemmed straight away is a very effective. It's a very nice thing for someone to do, and then their pants, their freshly minted pants, will be ready within a couple of days, and you go and collect them then. Beard trims and getting to a barber. It's just getting there and then encouraging the person to go and sit down and pay up for the beard trim and the barber. You just accompany them out in the world and to there. Bed furnishings, so linen, making sure there are charities out there who will help you acquire linen, maybe through their second-hand stores. Help make a list and source that. The client might have funds for that. It's an outlay. It's $100 outlay for a nice set. Nice winter set, I think. Yeah. Then we got doonas and things like this. So laundry. Is the laundry functioning in the home? And if it's not, then that's got to be one of your main priorities, is to get a new laundry machine and put that in the home ASAP, and then you wash everything. You can get second-hand laundries. You can appeal through major charities and welfare agencies. You might be able to do your research there, or a volunteer in the community, put like on a free or swap site on on the internet. Okay, so that's about it for how to get the destitute into shape. I hope you enjoyed that. Um, and yeah, open for questions, and look forward to hearing any feedback. Thanks. Bye.